Hey guys, putting together this quick video since I won't be there to introduce this next project. I figured this is the best way I could do it. What I'm going to want you to do is use this video to go through your actual keepsake packet. So, here's the video, and here's the keepsake packet, and we're going to walk through it so you know what to expect for this next project. It's going to be a cool one, and it's a wood piece you could take home with you. So, here's the packet. So I'm going to walk through again. What are some of the things you need to be able to fill in here? So for the packet, this packet belongs to. I'll make sure it's red. I say me. Of course. Again, let's make it red. This is going to be for Fab Lab Semester 7. And then block, you guys are block 2. Okay. And as far as the due date, I'll introduce or let you know the due date in an announcement when it's due. But basically, this is our last big thing that we need to get through for the semester. It could be the end of the semester, but it'd be nice to get one more thing in before the end of the semester. So we're going to just leave this open for now. It should take us at least 3 weeks to do. So you can kind of think through 3 weeks, but we know that we take a little more time sometimes to get stuff done. All right, so here's what we're doing. Where are you going to put all your precious little items? I got it, a nice keepsake box. So you're going to practice the following. You're going to be cutting wood to size, hammering wood together, nails, pieces, and staining, and then using a CNC machine to put a design on the top of your box. So as we go through, I'm going to want you to highlight certain things. This is the first thing I want to make sure you highlight. These are the dimensions of the box. This is important because this shows up later when you're doing your write up, your summary. It's part of one of the things you need to include. I'm just zooming down for you. In this part, you need to include the dimensions. Include the dimensions of your project. So you don't just put it in there. You got to put it in a sentence form. But there's the dimensions you're going to need. Okay. So like I said, about 10 class periods. That's about 3 weeks. These are the materials you're going to be using. You're going to be using VCarve, which is our software we use to do CNC work on a computer. You can do a very simple one, but we want you to get introduced to how to use those machines. You're going to have your wood. We're going to use about 15 nails, some stain, sandpaper, polyurethane, and then all these tools that are listed. Now, as we go through, remember, we're going to try to help you for writing up your summary or your write up, where you have to go step by step. So we're going to go through these steps, and then next to them, I'm going to want you to put down what tools are going to be used. So here are most of the tools. You can probably come up with something else as we go. We're going to fill them all out here because then you have something to use, this heading, along with the additional notes. This will help you to write your write up piece. So stage 1, we're going to mark, measure, and cut the wood. So remember, measure twice, cut once, and then probably repeat if you need to. Before we measure the wood, we're going to need to plane down the wood to a 1/2 inch thick wood. You're going to be creating 4 pieces, a top and a bottom. The cuts to size are important because if you don't use the listed sizes below, once they're all measured, you're going to be using the table saw to cut the wood. So there's 2 tools that I can think about in here, and I'm going to highlight these. There's 2 tools that we need to make sure we noticed in here. Planer, we're going to have to plane down the wood, so we know we're going to need to use a planer. It said we're going to be using a table saw, and there's going to be measuring included in here. So what I'm going to encourage you to write down is contractor, contractor square, um, or ruler. Okay, that's the measuring tool we're probably going to need to use for this. Okay. We could probably be real specific and say you're going to need a pencil for marking. You're going to need your safety glasses and stuff like that. But those are things we know we're going to need all the time, so we're not even going to mark those. So make sure you have this before we move on. Okay, in here, there are 2 videos. I'm going to want you to watch these after this video so you understand how to measure these pieces. You should be able to use this video right here, and you should be able to complete all the measurements you're going to need after we plane the wood and rip it. This video is going to show you how to cut the pieces. So these videos are right here for you, and we have an infographic here so you can see. So you can see that we're going to be making our pieces 6.5 long or 7.5 if you're going to be doing the top. You can see the tops over here. But everything else is the measurements are all right there, which coincide with the measurements that are right here. And this video shows you how to put that together. All right, stage 2. Let's take a look at this one, and let's go ahead and get ready to put down what tools are included with the creating and designing the cover for the box. So you're going to be using the CNC machining. You're going to get a chance to make the designs on the top of your box. You're going to be able to create the designs using any CNC media, creating an SVG file. And then we can upload that design onto VCarve. And VCarve is where you're going to make sure that your logo or your simple design is there. Again, as we see here, we encourage you to keep it simple when you're working it. To use easel, that's wrong. It should be VCarve. You might want to change that on yours as well. We encourage you to use VCarve to complete this task. Keep it simple. Okay, I'm going to even um, highlight that for you. Keep it simple. The designs are very simple, and here's a couple videos to show you how to do it. So, what are the measurement or the machines we're going to use for this? The designing and the cutting. Well, I'm going to help you with this. You're going to be using a computer. Oop, make sure that is highlighted and in black. You're going to be using a computer. You're going to be using VCarve, which is our software. And you're going to be using the Tormac CNC machines. Okay. That you're not going to specifically use for this step, but you are going to need to know that for the next piece. Actually, you know what? We'll just take that off because then that makes it a little simpler for you, so you don't get confused. Now, in step 3, this is where the CNC design is going to go onto your box top. So this is where you're going to be using. Let's use the highlighter, the Tormac CNC machine, be able to do this part. So you're going to be using that to be taking your design that you create and put it actually on the wood so that you see the display on there. So with the assistance of one of us in the shop, you'll be taking the phrase or the words or the name or the title, little design that you created, and we're going to be putting it on the top. So here is how to correctly run it. Again, the video is there for how you're going to follow the step. The biggest thing you need to know is you're going to be using the CNC machine here. Now, for the top, for the router dado cover, we're going to take away the hinge cover. We're not going to be doing that for now, simply because we don't want to take away from what the high school is doing with their classes. So we are going to mark down what tools we're going to be using at this stage. So to make sure your top sits snug, we're going to be making a dado cut around the bottom of the lid. So you're going to be cutting about a ½ inch in from the sides and a ¼ inch deep into the wood. Might even be a little less than a ¼ inch as we cut through that. But it's going to allow for that box top to sit real nice and snug on the top. So if you're going to be adding the hinge, we're going to skip that part anyway. So we are going to strike through here. Where's the formatting text? We're going to strike through here for now. You're not even going to have to worry about that. So for this part, what tools are we going to need? Well, for this, we're going to be using, as it showed in here, a router. So a router, and I'm going to put router table with router. Okay, you're going to be using it for that piece. And then after this, which is going to get in the next stage, is sanding. So I'm going to leave that off for this part, but this is the tool you're going to need for this step. I'd also cross this out if I were you so that you don't have to worry about it. Okay. This is also going to include 2 times on the router. One time is going to put your design or put the dado cut on the bottom. The other time is we're going to put a nice rounded edge on the top too. So we're going to be going to the router twice during this step. Next step is the sanding. So here when we're doing the sanding of the wood, let me get this prepared with the right font and the highlighting. The details are where you make your bread. So making everything look good is important. This is where you're going to take all your pieces before you glue them together or nail them together. You're going to make sure it all looks nice and smooth before it all gets put together. Your top will be done by now. All the edges will be sanded. The bottom will be sanded. All the sides will be sanded so that you can then just assemble your box. And then we're going to do all the staining afterwards as well. So in this step for the sanding and detailing, obviously you're going to need to use sandpaper. You could possibly use an orbital sander or a sanding block. Okay, those are the 2 tools that you're going to use for sanding. So how to make sure that I would make sure that you include those on there because that's really where the sanding part comes to. Then we move down to step 6, which is assembling the parts. Make sure we got the right font and highlight here. Okay. So this part is very important. If you don't line up your parts properly before nailing it together, your box is going to not look good. So this is where you got to set everything up ahead of time, make sure it looks the way it's supposed to, and then start driving those nails through there. So you'll be using a hammer and nails to nail where you put the pilot holes. So pay careful attention to where you're going to be clamping down all your wood and take time to put the parts together correctly. And then I gave a little bit of direction here. And what you should be including. So before you actually nail your pieces together, like I said, set up your box and make sure the sides and bottoms fit. So I'm going to highlight this because this is important for you to go through. After the box has been assembled, give the box one more run with sanding to make sure all the corners and everything looks good. And here are 2 videos on doing this. So since this is where we have the marking of the pilot holes and the assembly, there's several tools we're going to want to write down. So let me change the font back. So let's first start with the pilot holes. To do the pilot holes, you're going to have to use the drill press, okay? And you're going to have to use a contractor square. You're going to use that for the measuring of the pilot holes. And then for after you have the pilot holes all marked, again, those are lines that you're going to have to sand off when you're done. You're going to need a hammer, okay? Hammer and nails. Nails is a material. Nails are materials, but they are part of the tool that you're going to need to be able to complete this. Okay. This is also a good step to do with a partner. Someone can hold the box while the other one hammers, and then rotate different people in and out. And then finally, the staining and finishing your wood. I'm going to help you with this one real simple. The only thing you need is for the staining part. So you're going to need to have a rag for your staining. And again, it's a material, but you're going to need to make sure you have that there. The stain of your choice will also need to be included here. Okay. Oh, I forgot one other one, the screwdriver and mallet, M-A-L-E-T-T, I think. You're going to need those 2 things, one to screwdriver to open the stain and the mallet to close it. Okay. So make sure you have those notes before you go on, because again, those headings then with those notes are going to help you when you get down to the write-up part, which is right down here in the steps. Okay. So now we're on to the things you need to fill out. Well, vocabulary is the next thing. And you can see I already kind of helped fill this in for you. The CNC programming is the first vocabulary. So I put that definition down for you. Computer CNC software program is what we use to design our box tops. And then I went and found an image online of actually Aspire, which is the software you're using. You're going to have to do this for the next set of vocabulary. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more vocabulary to do. Again, you can go online and find the pictures of them and do it that way. You don't have to rewrite them or draw them or whatever. You can just find pictures online. And your definitions, remember, make sure your definition describes how the term looks and how it functions. Then you're going to have the design brief. This bothers me, so I'm going to move that up. And that's because of all the adding on we did before. Design brief. Remember, you're going to put your name here. Make sure that the font is red. You are the designer. So many people have little trinkets, collective items, jewelry, etc., that they have to have safekeeping for. It's nice to have one location for all your stuff. It's nice to ensure that said storage is personal to you. So you're going to research, design, build, and test a keepsake box that will store your personalized items. The box will also need to be personalized, and the important part of that to be shown is in the next step. So constraints, obviously you're going to have a sketch. I have a video for that too to help you out. Size constraints, we've talked about that already, but this is another place where you can make it yellow. Your design statement, I'm also going to highlight because this is the meat of that first section of your write-up. So if I go down to your write-up, here's where most of that stuff is going to be included as well. So we'll highlight it to remind you where to go back to later. You're going to CNC the cover. You're going to dado cut. You're going to finish your product, and you're going to include your write-up. And the only 2 things you have to turn in is your keepsake packet and the actual box. And this is your packet that you're going to be turning in. So this is half of it. Next is the brainstorm. So dimensions. I'm going to just change it to the dimensions of the wood being used. Okay. The dimensions of the wood being used, you're going to want to change that for yours. So again, that's just the length, width, and height. And I wonder where in the packet I could find that information. Wink, wink. You're going to put down what wood type you're going to want to use. What stain are you going to want to use? Again, you can use a light stain or dark stain. That's the words you could put here. Or if you know the specific stain color you want, you can go look for that and then include it in here. Remember, you have to have three separate ideas. So make three separate ideas here for us, please. Now over here, as far as the drawing that you're going to be including, make sure it's just what you're going to have on your cover. Okay, so you have to come up with three different designs. It can be as creative as possible. They can just be your name, or it can just say stuff, which I've seen some people put on, or keep out is what they've engraved on it. So you have the ability to be as creative as possible with this, but again, keep it simple. So include your stuff in each one of these. Okay, the dimensions, the wood type, the stain. If there's something specific you want to include on this, make sure you put those notes there. For example, maybe you want to say that maybe you're going to have two different stain colors. Okay, and you can say the top is X stain color, box is Y stain color, whatever you're choosing. Okay. Wood type, we have tons of different types. Again, this is one of those where you could say, if you don't know specifically what color you want to use, I'll change it to red. You could say that you want to use a light color wood. That's fine. You could say a dark color wood, whatever. And same with the stain. Now, in this example, I just said I'm going to put two different things. So I'm going to say, just for simple, light color and dark color stain, my first design. Now, the dimensions just up here, it's going to be 8 by 5.5 by 4.5. So I'm going to say 8 inches by 5.5 inches by 4 inches. I think I did that right. Oh, 4.5. Okay, I guess I didn't do that right. So that's going to be included with every single one of them. Now here, remember, when you're going to do your drawing, you just go to Insert, Drawing, click New. So for this one, we just need to show that it's going to be a box. This is for your top. And let's say my design for this one is going to be a real simple one. Actually, I can get rid of this fill color and just make it transparent. And I'm going to bring in a text box. And all I want to have on here is my last name. So I'm just going to make it say Singer. Okay. I'm going to want it to be somewhat centered. And I'm going to want to make it a little bigger than that. So let's make it like 30. And again, this is just a thumbnail sketch just to show us that you've thought through your designs. Okay. I'm good with that. Save and close. Boom. Done. That's my first one. Two more to go. The other one that people always forget is explain the reason of what design you chose and why. So make sure you include that as well. Okay. Once you have your brainstorms done, now it's time to do your financial page. And I'm going to help you with this as well. So it pays to go through this packet and this video with me. So you're going to see how much everything kind of costs for us here. So let's go through and plug through this. I'll help you. So you have no excuse why you can't get it done. So the amount of wood you're going to be using is about $5.25 worth of wood. We're going to be using about 50 cents worth of nails, about 50 cents worth of stain, and then about 50 cents worth of sandpaper. So you should be looking at $6.75 worth of material. Now machining, we can see here the measuring the table saw will say about a half hour worth of time. CNC router about an hour. Drill is another quarter, and then sander is an hour. So if we add these together, we got $1, $2, $2.25. Okay, $2.25. Make sure that's red. It's easy for me to go back and grade it later. So if we have 625 plus 275, or sorry, 225, you'll see that that comes out to $9 even. So that's how much your material is and your machining to give you your cost for the project. Now for this one, we want you guys to have a amount of $3 or 350% profit. So remember, for this first one, you have to show your work. So to get this cost, you're going to take the cost, which is $9. You're going to multiply it by 350, which remember we have to change to 3.5. Show your work, even if you're going to use a calculator, and that should come out to be $31.50. So you're going to put $31.50 here. And that's just what we came up with for you. So then your total cost you have to show down here is going to be taking this number of 3150, and you're going to be adding the original cost for this project, which is $9. And when you add that together, that equals $40.50. So that should be what you're going to sell it to someone for, $40.50. Oops. So there we got almost everything for the financial page done together. But what I want you to do is I want you to make sure you answer this question on your own. Explain why you think it's fair or not. Do you think $40.50 is a fair price? Yes or no? And then what will you do with the profits earned? I'll make that a different color. So there's two questions we need you to put down here, and we really want you to restate the question and the answer so we can see that they're clear. That's part of the grade to make sure you have clear, descriptive answers. This is where most people don't get full credit for the financial page just by not doing that part. Okay? Once you have that done, here is the last step you need before you can go get your wood and go into the shop. Okay. The write up is the next thing, but we don't do that till the project is completed. So next is you're going to have to create an orthographic sketch. So if you click here on this video, you'll see another video of me. And oh, wow, that's a lot of beard right there. I just trimmed my beard today. So this video is going to show you how to use Tinkercad to make your design. So here's another video to help you with stuff. So follow that video to make your design on here. And once you have that done, you're going to have it checked by myself if I'm here. Actually, what you're going to do is have it get checked by me, and you can also have Mr. Harris check it. So once you get to this point in your packet, what you need to do is remember on your screen up here, you'll get a box that says turn it in. I want you to turn this into me so I can grade it. If you want to, because you know I probably won't be at school, you can also email me and let me know to double check, and I will check this on Google Classroom. If I think it's good, I'll put a temporary score in, probably like 50 or something like that, so we know we're halfway through the project, and any notes I need to, and then I will resend it to you. So when you're done making your box, or as you start working on your box, then you can start on the write up. Okay. So this is the only part that we didn't cover. The last thing I want to do, though, before we're done, is just remind you that the rubric here talks about everything you need to do to be successful. So the first thing is your vocab. Remember, we're looking for complete sentences on all the vocab. All the definitions make sense and they go correctly with what the word is. And that final column, which is adding pictures this time, is done. For the brainstorm, remember, I need to see 3 unique designs. Those thumbnail sketches need to be completed for all 3. The dimensions, which I already gave you, just need to be labeled in every single section. Your material list and finishing needs are listed with all 3 sketches. And there's that clear description at the end of which design you're going with. Okay, the next section that we're going to be grading you is the financial page. Remember, all of these need to be included correctly. We just did that if you followed the video. Make sure your explanation is clear with those 2 questions being answered, and all your work is shown as I did already on this video. So if you do that, you're good. This is the only thing you really have to do. And then the orthographic sketch. Follow that other video, make those Tinkercad images and put them in here, and you're good to go. As far as the write-up, we'll get to that later, but as long as you're doing all those parts, using full sentences, each of the 4 sections are clearly filled out, you're good to go. All of you did a pretty good job on this with the previous project we did. And then the last page, these 2 parts are mostly about the actual box that you're going to make. I'm going to be checking to make sure your box is in final touch and it's quality, consumer quality ready, meaning we're ready to sell it. Okay, and it's durable, it's usable, and it meets its performance. And then as far as the quality of the finished product, to get a 4, you're going to need to make sure that cover page is filled out like we did. Below here, there's a checkbox that you need to click when you think that you've met everything you need to for this project. The reflection needs to be filled out down here. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this part in yellow as a reminder for you to go back to it, and you should probably do that too. A lot of people forget this part. And then that means all the criteria are met. So as long as you do all these things, you should be good to go. Use your time well in class. I know this video is long, but this is definitely part of doing well in class, watching all the videos that are linked in this document, and then make sure everything is turned in early. As long as you do that, you're going to get a great score. So if you got any questions, ask Mr. Harris or ask whoever's in the classroom or email me and I'll get back to you. Okay, good luck.